Imagine an ecosystem operating at absolute peak capacity. The sun is high, the meadow is bursting with life, and the heat is constant. In this environment, resources are so easy to find that the very idea of scarcity feels impossible. Calories seem infinite. This is where we find the grasshopper. His survival strategy is simple: maximize the pleasure of the current moment. He plays his fiddle and consumes what he needs right now, operating under the assumption that these conditions will never change. But nearby, the ant is running a completely different program. He is expending massive amounts of energy in the sweltering heat to secure assets against a future threat that hasn't arrived yet. He is moving heavy kernels of corn, one by one, into a stockpile. When these two worldviews collide, the friction is immediate. The grasshopper mocks the ant for wasting a beautiful day on backbreaking labor. The ant pauses, wipes the sweat from his head, and offers a warning. The sun will eventually set, and the food will vanish. The grasshopper ignores him because of a dangerous psychological comfort. When you have only ever known abundance, the idea of the world simply running out of resources feels like a distant fairy tale rather than a mathematical certainty. The ant isn't working out of a vague sense of duty. He's racing a clock. His strategy is a daily, calculated accumulation of calories. He knows exactly how much he needs to gather before the environment flips and the harvest window closes. The grasshopper is struggling with what psychologists call temporal discounting. He is vastly undervaluing the very real risk of the coming winter because the immediate reward of resting in the sun feels so much more significant. Surviving a crisis is rarely about how you react once the trouble starts. It is about out-preparing the inevitable while the sun is still shining. Eventually, the environment begins to shift. The first signs are subtle. The morning air carries a sharp chill, and the vibrant green grass turns brittle and yellow. The ecosystem is starting to shut down. The ant recognizes the shift and accelerates. He moves from steady labor to a frantic, high-speed sprint, gathering the last available seeds and crumbs before the frost locks them away forever. The grasshopper feels the cold, but his mind finds ways to justify staying the course. He wraps a dry leaf around his shoulders and tells himself the sun will surely return tomorrow. He believes he can wait out the chill without changing his behavior. Then comes the tipping point. A violent wind rips through the meadow, tearing the remaining resources from the trees and scattering them. The window for preparation hasn't just narrowed, it has slammed shut. The final blow arrives with the first snowflakes. A hard freeze takes hold of the meadow, burying the ground under a thick, frozen blanket. Every remaining berry and seed is now physically inaccessible. Ignoring early warning signs doesn't push back the date of a crisis. It only ensures that you will meet the hardest moments completely empty-handed. The meadow has become a silent wasteland. It is freezing, white, and contains 0 accessible calories for anyone left outside. But inside the anthill, the situation is the exact opposite. The ant is enclosed in a secure, warm bunker, surrounded by the literal fruits of his summer labor. He is safe because he spent the easy months preparing for the hard ones. For the grasshopper, the failure is total. His body is shivering violently, and his strength is failing. He finally realizes that his entire worldview, the belief that the sun would always be there, was his greatest weakness. He is forced into a desperate journey through the deep snow. Every step against the wind is a struggle for his life. He isn't just cold, he is fighting a landscape that has become actively lethal to him. When a landscape turns this hostile, the universe is indifferent to how much fun you had in the summer. Survival is heavily biased toward those who chose to take on the hardship early. The grasshopper finally reaches the only source of warmth left in the meadow. With a shaking hand, he knocks on the ant's door and collapses into the snow, begging for help. Inside, the ant faces a difficult choice. Strict logic says the grasshopper doesn't deserve the food he didn't work for. To help him is to take an altruistic risk with his own life-saving supplies. The grasshopper offers a full confession. He admits he was foolish and that he failed to see the reality the ant had warned him about. He acknowledges that his own philosophy was a mistake. The ant looks at his freezing neighbor and chooses compassion over cold logic. He pulls the grasshopper inside, wraps him in a warm blanket, and shares his soup. He chooses to save a life rather than prove a point. By pulling him inside, they forge a new social contract. They've moved beyond mere survival into a shared agreement. The grasshopper pledges his physical labor for the next harvest in exchange for his life today, turning a former critic into a future partner. But the value of the grasshopper is felt immediately. The ant hands him his fiddle and asks for a song. He realizes that while music couldn't keep them warm, it makes the long, dark winter worth surviving. Preparation is the absolute requirement for surviving life's winters, but it is the addition of empathy, shared joy, and art that makes that survival actually meaningful.